This is Surf Radio from the Standard Hotel, Hawaiian, with Leigh Higgins. Surf Radio.
And I'm really pleased to welcome Billy Popham to the Not Your Standard Breakfast Show this morning. Good morning, Billy.
Good morning, Lee.
How are you?
Thank you for inviting me. Very well, thank you. Very well.
Yeah.
Lovely venue here, isn't it?
Yeah, you've been here before?
Yes, I came to a couple of social events from British Chamber of Commerce, and it's been very good.
And that event was here on the rooftop, wasn't it?
Yeah, the second one was. The first one was down on the beach, if you remember.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah.
No, this is a great place to have a little party and whatever up here on the rooftop.
Fantastic, yes.
Now, Billy, you are a taxation and trust specialist. Am I right in saying that?
That's right, Lee. I first started with Lloyd's Bank back in 95.
Oi.
Back in the day. Became what's called an independent financial advisor in 97. Set up my own company in the City of London a couple of years later. But in previous life, I lived in the sunshine and the Alps, and let's face it, London weather sucks, so I had to get out sooner or later.
Yeah, I hear that about London weather. It's not like Australia, really, is it?
No. Most Aussies go, look forward to retiring back home.
Yeah.
Most Brits don't.
No, so how did you end up here in Hawaiian?
Oh, it's a long story. Worked in Bangkok for a dozen years to start with.
Yes.
And I've always loved the beach.
Yeah.
So I was looking for a place to retire to, semi-retire to. And Hawaiian ticks all the boxes, doesn't it? Simple as that.
It does. And so what, do you have family here, or you have family come to visit you?
Oh, yes, I've got a lovely Thai wife, Napads, twins and a grown-up daughter
Oi.
who we adopted.
Yes.
Life's good.
Life's
very
good.
Yeah.
Well, life is good. So this morning we are talking about wills and trusts. So I know a little bit about wills and I know nothing about trusts. So I think you're going to help me a little bit this morning.
Sure. Okay, the starting point has to be wills, because if you have any assets whatsoever, and I presume most people listening to this station do, then you should have a will. You should also have a will in every country you hold assets.
Why do you need that?
Because the law of that country can only exercise that will in that country.
Right.
It can't. You can try and do a will that reaches abroad, but it can be contested very easily.
So if you have a will in your home country, does that, if you've been away like you've been away here in Hawaiian for a long, long time,
yes.
Do you have to keep updating that will?
Oh, yes. If your assets change or your beneficiaries change, you should always update it, yes.
Now, it seems quite logical to have a will, doesn't it? But
Sure.
so many people don't.
No, well, the great risk of not having a will is that your assets won't go to the people you love. As simple as that. And wills can be contested. If you don't have a will, it's far more dangerous that the right money doesn't go to the right people at the right time.
Yeah, I imagine. Now, I hear of people that do sort of, wills online and especially where they're trying to do it back in either their home country of the US or Australia or wherever.
Yeah,
Tell me a little bit about where you should go to get a will.
Okay, my ex-wife in the UK went to a Law Society dinner once, a Christmas dinner, and they all had a toast to people who make their own wills, for these wills online or do-it-yourself wills, because they make more money out of people contesting those type of wills than just about anything else. So certainly my advice would be to use a lawyer who knows what they're talking about, who specialises in wills. Pay a few $100, it's worth it. It will save you a lot of money down the road.
Because sometimes it just seems easy. Well, we'll just go online. Everything's online at the moment, isn't it? Like you can do everything that you ever want.
Sure.
But your suggestion is probably do it the right way.
Yeah. Do it properly or don't do it at all.
And this morning my special guest is Billy Popham, and he is a taxation and trust specialist. And we've just been speaking about wills. And you also are a specialist in trusts. Now, I don't know anything about trusts, so can we start at the beginning? What is a trust?
Okay, as I think I mentioned earlier, that catchphrase, a trust is all about putting the right money in the right hands at the right time. Whereas a will can leave money to your beneficiaries, there can be probate delay, the will can be contested. It is very hard to contest a trust to start with, because it's normally written with a lawyer as well, and with trustees and beneficiaries, so there's lots of witnesses.
Does everybody need to have a trust?
Well, if your estate's fairly simple, you don't need a trust. However, the more wealthy people are, the more complicated their estates become.
Yes.
So the more the requirement is for a trust.
Right.
I once attended a seminar in London where the speaker claimed that over 90% of the world's wealth is in trust. Now, As trusts are private, I don't know how we can calculate that, but certainly...
Good stat, anyway.
Certainly, under UK and US, there's trust law that is recognised and is used by very wealthy families and has been for centuries.
So if that's property, that could be anything that increases in value. What about things that decrease in value?
I mean, something decreasing in value, like your car, for example, you probably leave that in your will because it's quite straightforward.
Unless it's a 1969 Jag or something like that.
A Corvette Stingray or whatever. Yeah,
exactly.
Sure.
That might be different.
Yeah.
And if you've left your home country, how do you go about setting up a trust?
Well, there are various ways. I use trustees in the Isle of Man quite often, for example. The pension trust in Guernsey. There's several offshore jurisdictions. I say offshore because Thai law is civil law, not common law.
Okay.
And under civil law, they do not recognise trusts.
Right.
So you cannot set up a trust with a Thai lawyer. So it has to be offshore. Furthermore, using offshore jurisdiction is far more tax efficient as well.
Right, okay.
So it makes sense.
And so people who are living here in Thailand and they set up a trust somewhere around the world in their country or wherever you're saying.
Sure.
So the beneficiaries can be anywhere, can't they?
Yeah, sure. I mean, with a trust, you have to have the settlor, who's the person who sets the trust up, trustees, who obviously operate the trust once you pop your clogs, and obviously the beneficiaries. Now, the trustees and the beneficiaries can be the same people. So, you set up a family trust, your children are the trustees and the beneficiaries. But of course, then your grandchildren are as well. And a trust is far more flexible than a will, in so much as it can be set up to look after your grandchildren's further education, give them a lump sum on a 25th birthday, whatever.
Whatever you want to do. And so you want to set up a trust. How do you find that right person? Is there people here in Thailand that can do that?
Well, I can.
You can, okay. Well, I'm sure you are. You're a trust specialist. But what sort of questions should people ask when they're trying to search for the right person to set up their trusts?
What experience a person has, what knowledge they have, where's the trust based, what the tax implications of the trust being based there to them.
Sort of people come to, say, a new country and they go, right, what am I going to do? Maybe I'll learn another business. Does that happen a lot where people then go, well, I'm going to go into financial advising or this type of field? Well,
I know a lot of financial advisors here weren't financial advisors before they came here, but it was a way of keeping a job and staying here, which you can't blame them for. It's a great country.
Absolutely.
But like I said before, I have qualifications back in UK from 26 years ago.
Yes.
And a lifetime of experience, which I think counts for a lot.
Well, I think that's the key thing and I suppose that's with anything, check people's credentials of what they've done and what their track record is, because this is a very, very important part of your life.
And of course the same applies to a will,
Yes.
Every solicitor will say they will do a will, but are they specialists in a will? Because I've heard of some terrible wills being set up by solicitors.
Yes.
A lot of solicitors don't understand inheritance tax in the UK, for example, which is very important to plan for.
And my special guest this morning is Billy Popham, and we've been talking about trusts and wills, and you're also a taxation specialist, aren't you?
Well, one of the main reasons for setting up a trust is to avoid tax, or to mitigate tax. I think tax avoidance is illegal, mitigation is legal.
Well, I'm just about to say, because everybody wants to avoid as much tax as you possibly can, but can you?
With the correct planning, yes. The whole point of a trust is putting the right money in the right hands at the right time, but also doing it as tax-free as possible.
And there's lots of different types of taxation rules, and tell me a little bit about the inheritance tax, and is that in every country?
In the UK, they have inheritance tax. In America, they call it, I think, death tax. In Europe, they call it death tax as well, I believe. The UK is the most punitive.
Right.
Anything above £325,000 in someone's estate is subject to inheritance tax.
Okay.
With the correct planning for a couple who have children, that can be raised to £1 million. However, again, having a will structured to do that is very important.
Right.
So again, a will can save, and inheritance tax is 40% in the UK. So the correct will could save you hundreds of thousands of pounds for the sake of a few $100s.
Yes.
But with taxation, now inheritance tax doesn't exist at the moment in Canada, Australia, New Zealand and a dozen other countries. However, with ageing populations, with time, it will come in to support these ageing populations.
And so do you advise people to do what with their cash?
Okay, well, obviously, set the will up is the first step.
Yeah.
If you've got substantial wealth into 7 figures, start looking at trust planning as well, for sure.
Okay, and you can't stash the cash.
You can't stash the cash. Well,
I've taken your punchline there, Billy, but I think it's fantastic.
Well, I met the director of BAE Systems in Bangkok a dozen years ago, and they developed this software originally for tracking terrorist financing that can track your bank accounts anywhere in the world. So if you think you can open a little bank account in Cambodia and hide $500,000 there, think again. When it comes to taxation, Big Brother is definitely watching you.
Yeah, because everybody can see everything. Well, not everybody, but
Sure.
they can see what you're putting in, what you're taking out, how quickly you're putting it in, how quickly you're taking it out. And what about assets like gold and putting your money into gold?
Well, of course, you can buy your baht ingots of gold and put it in your safe forevermore. However, the problem is that money will go to whoever has a combination to the safe, won't it? You put it into trust, you can ensure that it goes to the right people at the right time.
So I've got this 2-metre mattress at home with all my cash in it, Billy, so I'm in trouble, aren't I?
Well, exactly, yeah. The cleaner will have that, yeah.
Yeah, someone will find that going, what's in there? All these 100 baht notes. But anyway, so Billy, thank you very much for coming in today. And I know that you do a little bit of advisement on the side here,
Sure, I'm kind of semi-retired, but if people want to drop me an email, I'm always willing to meet for coffee or a beer and have a chat. Informal, no obligation, it's not a problem.
No, it's good. Well, thank you very much for coming in today, Billy. It's been very, very interesting, and I've enjoyed you giving me a little bit of insight about wills and trusts and how to clear my 2-metre high mattress.
Well, thank you for inviting me on.
No problems, Billy. Well, maybe we'll get you on another time and talk some other financial tips that you can give our listeners. So hopefully we'll get you back again.
Okay. Thank you. Bye-bye.
We are Surf Radio.
Online at surf.radio.